Thank you, Michelle. So, good afternoon, everyone. That was actually my cue to pull a little dance on stage, because apparently I was told it would help somewhat kill my stage fright. You know, generally get the endorphins going, the adrenaline pumping, and overall making me happier and more empowered, which is what I'm here to do today, empower you. All right, TEDxRITDubai, good afternoon. Are you I'm obviously not empowered. Are you all ready to be empowered? Yes. So then let's begin. Now, of course, I did save the dance just in case I would fall off the lovely TED sign that you see over there and, you know, save myself the embarrassment. Although I would certainly make sure that it would be the most watched TED Talk of the century. Over the course of history and across all disciplines, we have observed many philosophers, theologians, and scientists succeed, only after going through their many failures, many recurrent failures, actually. We have studied their breakthrough findings and marveled at them, but rarely did we analyze what it was exactly that had allowed them to succeed. Psychologists over the year have attempted to further understand that marvelous complexities of human behavior and the reason behind what makes us who we are. Psychoanalysts would say it is our subconscious motives and drives, or your anatomy that dictates your destiny. But then where would that leave the power of will? Where would that leave the impact of a positive mindset? Where would that leave the situations that we all go through? Existentialists would argue that it is the course of our existence that makes the human subject authentic and unique, emphasizing that when we say human subject, we do not have only but to think of them as thinking subjects, but they are actually acting, feeling, and living human individuals. Everyone is born with their challenges. You will face your challenges, and I will face mine, and we certainly will not face them in the same way. So, where does the secret lie? What is it that has allowed humans to remain so resilient and strong, despite all downfalls, illnesses, and even deaths? In my opinion, it is the following three elements: inspiration, motivation, and innovation. If abbreviated, they sound out to I am I, as in I am I. You are you, and this is who we are. Walk with me down memory lane. Charles Darwin, the theory of evolution. His theory until today is debated and argued. Did that ever stop in his way? Freud, the theory of psychoanalysis. Well, we would all say that when he came out with his ideas of subconscious motives and desires being those that guided us, well, it was almost blasphemous to many. Rosa Parks, the First Lady of Civil Rights and the mother of the Freedom Movement. And of course, the famous Albert Einstein, which, well, as you can see, as a student, he was no Einstein. And even as an adult, actually, when he applied as a position for a professor at the University of Bern, they wrote back saying that they thought his theories on light, the Alain der Physik, were too artistic. And finally, the marvelous John Nash, battling a lifetime of illness, mental illness to be specific, schizophrenia, and yet still he won a Nobel Prize in the economic sciences for discoveries of the Nash equilibrium. So you see, human behavior is marvelous that way. As you can see, well, it is the boom between the worlds of technology and medicine that have allowed us for today to further understand it through imaging techniques. So, unlike other fields, you can't exactly ask a person if you can borrow their brain over the weekend or take a sample and return it right back to them, just over the weekend. Now, as you saw, that was marvelous imaging. As a little kid, I always had a passion to teach. And so being the oldest of two siblings, you know, Freud, sibling order, I got to be the bossy one. My baby sister, she got to sit through my pretend classes and be one of the 20 pretend students, but catch this, she would actually have to answer to every single name. Luckily, she still knows her name and doesn't answer to any random name that's being called out. My parents always saw this in me, a passion to teach. And they said, no matter what you decide on doing, stay focused and passionate. Stay true to yourself and to others. And most importantly, my dad would tell me, Lina, be a penguin. You know, a bit like the Russell Peters, be a man. But of course, in light of the fact that I'm of the opposite gender, penguin was great. But I wouldn't understand why penguin. And so as you can see in this image, well, penguins have that marvelous trait about them. No matter what makes them upset, they look incredibly cute. And so he said, no matter what life brings, stay, embrace it, and remain cute. So I began, of course, being a penguin. I set off towards North America. But my first move was from Saudi to Egypt, because as Mashahid said, that's where I conducted my bachelor's. And so this is literally what I looked like. Of course, as you know, Cairo, it's traffic, not exactly everyone's piece of cake. And well, in Egypt, I learned how to cross streets for the first time, or walk in them for that matter. And I literally looked as confused as that chicken. And the joke became not why the chicken crossed the road, it was why Lina crossed the road. Now, after that point, I moved further out to Canada. And, you know, since I'm a penguin, I can't exactly land in the Antarctic. Canada will do. Because it was that jump from plus 52, literally, to minus 52 that was fabulous. Almost impossible to anyone's imagination. Now, I attempted to ski. Yes, I hit the slopes, and well, I hit backwards because I picked up so much speed on my first time, it was scary. And then, of course, there was that great time where I decided to make some French fries on a night that I was studying for a statistics exam and ended up almost burning my apartment down. The firemen weren't exactly very happy with it, and they said, well, maybe next time you should consider some McDonald's. And of course, being the Arab Canadian, as I'm sure you can all relate, well, we walk around making sure that we have a bidet always installed. And so I took those bidets with me all the way from Egypt to North America. And the pressure of the buildings, since you are all engineers, well, you can imagine, didn't exactly suit that bidet. And it exploded, ended up drowning my apartment. And so a lovely bidet that cost me $50 ended up causing me a fine of $500. Yep, that was my story. So, as you can imagine, I was always marveled by the strength of human behavior, the capacity that we have in us in resilience. And so in my PhD, I decided to specialize in studying behavioral and neuronal alterations in chronic pain patients, and later to continue my postdoctorate at the Ottawa Health Research Institute. Now, we always would think that in a chronic pain patient, it is their weakness, that pain is their weakness. However, as I did my graduate studies, I discovered that it is those magnificent alterations that actually account for their strengths. A bit like how I had to cope with the going from plus 52 to the minus 52, you know, very painful. Endless nights of being blown away by the winds and the sliding on the black ice. And so again, very painful. That's certainly how I felt at many occasions. But it never made me stop. I literally had a great friend of mine. She had my name registered under Lina-Emergency. Unfortunately, my chapter in Canada had to come to an end in 2009, when the economic crisis eventually impacted us. And so I decided to head back to my roots. I decided to go back to Damascus. Damascus, the oldest, most ancient inhabited city in the world. The crossroad of civilizations, which I only hope that amidst the war that my country is battling today, I will still be able to one day go back. To smell the jasmines in the street, to eat my grandma's yummy food, and to have coffee with my 75-year-old neighbor, Hassan. I've battled many interpersonal challenges. I remember once a postdoctorate colleague of mine laughed at me when I was 8 months pregnant. And he said, well, I guess it ends here, eh? You stagnate in your career, and I get to move along. And I thought, wow, really? How discriminating was that comment? And not that it's only that men do that, no, but the female colleagues also do. Some just felt that being from a very different background of theirs for the many reasons that they had constructed, without me getting into details, made me incapable of succeeding. But none of this would stand in my way. It was exactly that would later prove to be my driving force, to win multiple awards from international renowned organizations, such as the National Sciences and Engineering Research Council, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Boehringer Ingelheim, and the Allen Awards Research Center on Pain. Of all the challenges I was faced with, nothing was more painful than when I had to send my 3-year-old son away to be safe with my mother during the Syrian war, never knowing if I would see him again. Every day as I head out on the road to the university where I taught, I would see the many military tanks driving by us in long, endless lines. The university I taught at was attacked, people died, and I lost many loved ones. I could have been one of them. I remember looking at my son's picture one morning and telling him, if anything happens to me, forgive me. But I am not a coward, and I will not let anything stand in the way of carrying out my due diligence. It was all these experiences that made me who I am today. I never stopped. I always continued. I stayed empowered. I knew all along, as Goethe would say, everything is hard before it is easy. People always saw me as a warrior. People always saw me that because I chose to be, because that's what I believed I was. As Michelangelo would say, in every block of marble, I see a statue as plain as though it stood before me, shaped and perfect in attitude and action. I have only to hew away the rough walls that imprison the lovely apparition to reveal it to the other eyes as mine see it. And so, a while back, a member of the UN had approached me asking me to formulate an equation to help integrate refugees into the paths of their education when they reach their new destinations. I looked at her thinking, but we are humans. We are sensory modalities. We are the essence of the biopsychosocial model. How do we equate that into an algorithm? How do we expect children arriving in a novel culture, dealing with a language barrier and many other challenges to follow an algorithm? As I attempted to construct a module, I could only think of what it was that continued to be my driving force, despite all challenges. It was my positive mindset. As Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, would say, why not study what makes life worth living? What brings us joy, courage, and hope, instead of violence, prejudice, hatred, and negativity? This would entail the development of the multidimensional positive skill set. You teach humans that in order to remain empowered, you must always believe in what you do. Believe in the purpose behind your existence that empowers you. Therefore, following through with Aristotle's syllogisms, we can conclude, if all humans are taught to be inspired, motivated, and innovative, we are humans, therefore we can be taught to be empowered. Empirical evidence today has demonstrated that. Ozer and Bandura have shown that personal and social change through empowerment methods can be achieved by equipping people with the requisite knowledge, skills, and resilient self-beliefs of efficacy to alter aspects of their lives on which they can exercise self-control. This can be achieved through 4 primary methods: social persuasion, changes in emotional and physiological states, finally, modeling of coping strategies, and mastery experiences. Ultimately, empowerment then becomes, as what Bolton and Brookings had said, a personological construct that entails the acquisition of values and attitudes that are incorporated into the individual's personal worldview, and thus constitute the foundation for action. And that is where the secret lies. Ladies and gentlemen, it is all within your hands. As the sowing seeds of the future to create Senge's definition of a learning organization. One where people continuously expand their capacity to create results they truly desire. Where new and expansive patterns of thinking are nurtured. where collective aspiration is set free, and where people are continuously learning, unlearning, and relearning together. That's empowerment. We as citizens of the earth complete each other, be self-actualized, ensure positive mindsets, provide all the hope, determination, support, never be overwhelmed, enjoy the journeys, cherish your many interactions, and continuously make insightful decisions about personal goals and necessary services to give back to your society. You have been given a miracle, the miracle to exist. So believe in it, allowing for the Aristotelian eudaimonia to become a positopia. A positopia, a utopia that is possible to attain. I am an educator, because this is what I've always believed I can do and aspire to be. So what about you? Who will you become, and who will you be remembered for? For as Khalil Gibran would say, for self is a sea, boundless and measureless. Say not I have found the truth, but rather I have found a truth. Say not I have found the path of the soul, but rather I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like reed. The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless parts. Thank you very much.